Hi. Hi to Laura and Martin and to Emma. Oh, you're very lucky to be working with Emma. She's a colleague of mine, and I know the preparation that you're going to get for birth is going to be excellent. So that's fantastic. And do you know, in all the years that I've been a midwife since 1994, I think being prepared would be the main emphasis, if you like, upon any work that I've done with a couple preparing for birth. But over those years, I've kind of learned quite a lot about what will influence the environment for birth in certain ways, depending on how the male partner supports his lover. That's you, Martin. I know you've got experience, Martin. This isn't the first time, so I don't want to patronise you. I really don't. You know, I've got 6 children and 6 grandchildren, so if you want contraception advice, go somewhere else. I tell you what I've observed in the birth room. I've observed men being drawn into kind of participating in what's going on in the room rather than just being there for Laura or for their lover. Okay? Now, you've probably heard this before, and I'm going to try and keep this to 10 minutes, all right? Because I know you've got an evening with Emma. Michel Odent says this. He says, female orgasm and birth are one event separated by time. Now, why does he say that? Well, the hormones responsible for a woman being able to be released inside herself to orgasm fully are the same hormones responsible for the birthing process, labour as called, for labour to work perfectly. Now, we all know here listening to this that birth has worked perfectly for millions and millions of years. You know, there's a part of the brain called the limbic system, the amygdala. Now, the limbic system is many millions of years old. It's that part of us that links us so clearly with the mammals, with animals. So we know it works perfectly. And before we had our thinking brain, which is relatively young, very young in evolutionary terms, before we had the thinking brain, we just responded like a mammal would. We responded like a mammal would. And those parts of our brain work perfectly well because we don't have to think about them. But there are environmental factors that will influence the limbic system and will influence, for example, the possibility of whether a woman would be able to orgasm, be free to orgasm. You know, we don't, I know you know this, Martin, we don't give women orgasms. They are released into orgasming. It's something that comes from them. And it won't be talked into, well, that depends, I suppose. It won't be talked into happening. So when I do groups with all men and we sit and we talk about the environment suitable for a woman to feel free to orgasm, what would that be like? Now, of course, you obviously always get the odd wise guy, you know, oh, the environment suitable for orgasm, the back seat of my Capri, you know. I normally say, what's the difference between a Capri and a hedgehog? Well, the prick's on the outside of the hedgehog, right? But eventually we come to the conclusion that warmth, quietness, privacy, loving talking, but not much of it. These are the kind of environments that will support a woman to birth really well. And we have some responsibility, Martin, to make sure that those kind of environmental factors are being kind of thought about. You know, so a hospital with a bright light obviously is not a great environment. Why? Well, because the adrenaline that gets released when a woman experiences fear stops the pregnancy hormones working in quite the way they would if she was completely given to the environment. Now, why is that? Well, when we were hunter-gatherers, if she was in the early stages of the birthing process and was attacked, the adrenaline would cause the pregnancy hormones to diminish in the body so she can run. You know, ironically, at the end stages of labour, that same adrenaline causes the baby to be born more quickly so that she can run. Now, there's something that both Laura and Martin, both you and Laura need to understand. It's important. You know, when we, talking to Martin now, experience stress, testosterone going up in our body relieves our stress. It helps to still our stress. You know, when we're disconnecting from a problem, I don't know, playing a video game or whatever it is we do to disconnect from a problem, it usually involves our thinking about it being stilled, and we're withdrawing so that our testosterone can rise. So that's how the male neurophysiology seems to work. Now, a woman's physiology is different. Testosterone in her system will inhibit oxytocin and estrogen. Now, these are the stress-relieving hormones. You know, these are the hormones in a woman that lead to her feeling full of life, feeling like life has purpose and all of that kind of stuff. Now, most women work in environments that are fairly testosterone-driven. You know, they're saturated with testosterone all day in terms of how the structures of their work are operate. So they come home oxytocin depleted, in need of the kind of activity that will stimulate oxytocin in them. And for a lot of women, that's creativity. It's and that could involve cooking, certainly, looking after other people, connecting with their friends. You know, a woman will talk around an issue that she has because that generates oxytocin. Even better, she'll talk in a group about stuff because that generates oxytocin. Let's be honest, you know, most men I work with, you know, they've got two friends. You know, you have to have two because you need a backup in case one dies, right? You know, and we're less likely to want to talk around a problem. We're more likely to want to fix a problem. Now, the work I do with men focuses on them understanding how they can create environments that will generate oxytocin in a woman. Because when oxytocin is high in her, she will feel connected to you. And it's that felt sense of connection that we want to maintain throughout the pregnancy and through the birthing process. You see, when she's in the birthing process, in labour, so-called, right? Your goal, Martin, the only thing that needs fixing is that felt sense of connection with her. And let's be honest, you know when you're not connecting with her. You've been with her long enough to know when there's something not quite right with that connection. And that's your goal. You see, when you focus on the goal of connecting with her as your primary goal, don't get me wrong, you might count some stuff, contractions, or you might tell a few people, look, this is a private room, don't come in. You might do all of that. If that is facilitating you knowing that you're connecting with her, that she knows you're there just for her, no one else. You're there just for her, no one else. As you listen to the concerns that she raises about birth, find out about those things. You listen long enough not to jump to your own conclusion, but you listen long enough to understand what her concerns are, find out about what her concerns are, and feed back your understandings with a view to her making her own decision that you're going to support with your presence. Then oxytocin goes mad inside her. I often joke about oxytocin and sex, for example. I'll say, my girlfriend says to me, do you want sex? And I go, let me think about it. Yes. Doesn't work that way with most women. You know, I could probably have sex after we'd just fallen out 10 minutes ago, but it doesn't work that way with women. The levels of oxytocin need to be supported by our kind, nurturing behaviour that often involves doing things around the house without being asked to do them and without seeking praise. I mean, that kind of stuff is gold when it comes to raising oxytocin levels. When you go into hospital, Martin, if that's your choice, all right, and if you're working with Emma, you're working with me. So you can phone me anytime and talk about anything relating to the pregnancy, and that won't cost you anything. You know, any client of Emma is a client of mine. So call me anytime, and I mean that. And if I'm not available, I'll get back to you. But when you go, if you go into hospital, you will notice that the structures around birth inside hospital have been very influenced by a masculine way of thinking about life. So birth gets measured, birth gets fixed, because the stuff that they want to fix, that it hasn't even gone wrong yet. Birth they want to get it done ideally as quick as possible. And of course there's many gadgets that are used and are useful for sure when needed. The temptation for you, Martin, to be drawn into that structure, to participate in that structure, is very strong. But if you can keep that one idea in your mind, my goal is to create a deep connection with Laura. That's it. And when that goes wrong, I need to fix that as my primary objective. Now, if you haven't bought the book already, and I'm not selling my book, although I'd like to buy it, email me and I'll send you, Martin, a PDF copy of the book. Now, I do hope that this little 11 odd minute chat has been helpful. It's a very short précis of what we'd probably do if I was there. I wish you both the very, very best for this occasion in your life. I've got 6 children, 3 girls. We had 3 girls first. And we weren't trying for boys. No, everyone thought we were. And, I'm very excited for you. And I wish you all the very best. Thank you. And you're lucky to have Emma, because she's pretty cool.